All right, welcome back to the Who is Will Sims podcast, and thank you for tuning in. So, still just figuring out what all I am doing here, and with most things, you kind of have to ask yourself, what is the point of this? Why am I doing this? Why do I feel a need to do a podcast? Well, I believe I mentioned in the first one that I am a teacher. I was a martial arts instructor for 15 years, about, something like that. Long time. And I've always fancied myself a teacher. And in today's world, it is very difficult to get people to listen and really appreciate the lessons that are out there in everyday life. And I'm a very patient person. I try not to lose my temper with people. But I do find myself very frequently frustrated with, dealing with people every day. At my job, I have responsibilities, and when I try to get people to, sometimes I ask people to do things and they don't do them, and they do a halfway job, and I have to pick up the pieces. And I think, especially in today's society, I think a lot of people maybe feel left out or just kind of overlooked, especially with, everyone's got phones in their hand. You've got constant access to many forms of entertainment. So just having a conversation with someone seems pretty mundane, although it can be very interesting talking with some people. I know I find myself very frequently just bored talking to people if they have nothing to say. My hope here is to maybe, build a community of people that, feel and think the same way I do, and we can connect and find interesting things to talk about, whether it's our favorite entertainment or topics that intrigue us. So, I taught Taekwondo for 15 years, and I'm a 5th degree black belt in the Chimukwan style of Taekwondo. Chimukwan is a traditional style and not very widely practiced. There are a dozen or so schools throughout the Mid-Atlantic region, and there are some other schools in the Texas area and stuff like that. So it's made its way around, but it's not in the what I would call mainstream circuit of martial arts. And that was one of my favorite things to do. I did it for a long time, mostly teaching with kids and trying to instill the principles of martial arts into their thought process, because at the end of the day, being able to kick over your head is really cool and all, but it's not going to get you a good job and help you out when you're struggling, but as with most students, you've got a lot of people that think they are incapable of doing, something along the lines of, throwing an awesome kick or feeling like you can protect yourself if you were attacked by somebody. And in being able to instill that confidence in someone that they could protect themselves if they had to, or that they could accomplish any goal if they put their mind to it and commit, that is something that I carry with pride, that I've been able to bring that to a lot of people's lives. Sadly, I don't teach anymore. The school that we were teaching closed down a little over a year ago. It was a struggle after COVID, and there was just a lot of life things that were happening with people running the school, and I was not in a position to step in and take the reins. And, it was a real bummer, but, we did a lot of good, I think. I think we did a lot of good. We weren't a school that was centered around, paying for annual contract or whatever. We were monthly focused, so our goal was to really just train our students in a way that we felt like what they were learning would really be impactful in their life, and that it was something that they could carry with them even if they left the school. And that's something that I'm very proud of. We were very self-defense focused, very focused on actual scenarios that could happen, and pushing our students to know how to get into that mental space to protect themselves. And I'm sure I'll talk more about that as I talk with other people, as I have other people on the podcast and we discuss different things we've done. But there's just something about people who have done martial arts a long time. And when I say a long time, I mean like years and years. I'm not talking about you did it till you got a black belt and then high five, because sadly, I feel like most schools, it's really, you give them the money, they're going to give you a black belt. And it doesn't really carry any weight if, somebody can bear hug you from behind and you don't even know how to escape. You don't even know all the tools you have at your disposal to escape an assailant. And that's something that we focused on a lot, and most of our students spent many years training before they got their black belt. And we wanted to know that if they got their black belt, it was something that they earned, and they would feel an immense sense of pride in achieving. So, how does that translate to this podcast? Well, I just feel like there's a lot of, even in the most basic of things, being able to sit down and watch a show or play a video game or listen to music. I feel like as we get older, we don't appreciate how incredible it is to have access to these things. And even something as simple as like, your favorite band released a new album and it's nothing like their old stuff. Their old stuff was better. That was when they were great. Well, a lot of bands, I think there's a combination of experience that comes into songwriting as you get older, but also just the what you're focused on in life kind of reflects your art. And so sometimes the pain of your youth or the struggles of your youth might yield something that feels more impactful or something you can relate to at the time. And so you always kind of hold that special place in your heart for that original feeling you got. And then as a band gets older and their life experience changes and they begin to focus on other things, you kind of lose touch with that. But reality is, if you're, most people are on the same paths in life. You're young, you date, you meet people, you go around, you learn things. And as you get older, your focus becomes more about family and looking out for the next generation and trying to, find ways to leave the world a better place than you found it. And I think sometimes people miss that, that sort of the chance to understand that journey that an artist is on. And so yeah, and like, just when I think about movies or TV shows, I think about all the work that goes into making them. Whether it turns out good or not, a lot of people worked a lot of hours to make that thing happen, like not even talking about actors, I'm talking about behind the scenes people, crew and stuff. And of course you want things to be better. I wish some movies got a lot more credit than they deserved. I think there's a lot of movies that people see and they kind of just uniformly tear it down, and I check it out later and I'm like, this wasn't really even that bad, compared to some movies. But everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm not here to tell you you're wrong or you're right, but I guess I just like to put my 2 cents into the conversation because, I'm a person, I have opinions, and I think that one of the issues today is it's so easy to feel overlooked or ignored by people on a daily basis because everyone's focused on, whatever's new and fresh and what's exciting to them. And, you might be excited about the things you got going on, but nobody else is. And how do you kind of break through that noise to reach people that, you want them to appreciate what you're doing. And I don't like really talking with people in public in the sense that, like, if I run into someone at a show or at a bar, I want to be able to have a real conversation with them. I want to be able to chat about what's going on in life, talk about struggles, what we got going on, talk about things that have meaning. And a lot of times when you're out, like, you're in the middle of talking with somebody and somebody else comes up and they just interrupt you, which is so frustrating to me. I have that happen a lot where I'm literally talking to someone and someone will just walk right up and start talking to that other person as if I'm not even there. And it's very frustrating. But, it's like people just don't have that cell in their brain to tell them, hey, just be patient a second. It's also the flip side of that is when I just want to say bye to someone real quick and somebody's in the middle of a conversation and like the person just won't stop talking and they're just talking about whatever and they don't even acknowledge that you're like there waiting to say something, And I think that's like another ability that some people have or don't have to just, have respect for other people, whether you know them or not, So just a thought on that. So I'm going to get out of the, this me imparting knowledge upon you or my experiences. Let's talk about some movies. So I just watched a couple movies on Netflix, and the first one I want to talk about is a movie called Ava, which stars Jessica Chastain. It's kind of like a Born Identity type spy movie where she's an assassin and, of course, she starts to question her job and what she's doing, and that leads to the people she works for coming after her. So she's got to whoop some ass, and it was pretty entertaining. I don't know if I liked it as much as the Kate movie I talked about last time, but it was pretty fun, and I definitely recommend it if you're into action movies. I also watched The Machine with Bert Kreischer, which was pretty funny, actually. I've tried to watch Bert Kreischer's stand-up a couple times, and I don't think he doesn't, his comedy doesn't hit me the way that I think it hits a lot of people, where, like, his jokes don't, I feel like he just tells stories, and they're entertaining stories, and he's an entertaining person, but his comedy isn't, like, based around, like, clever jokes or interesting observations about things, which I think is what I'm more drawn to. But in the movie, he's great. It's actually a really funny movie. The way it's shot is kind of non-linear, where it kind of goes, because it's sort of based on his story that made him famous, the Machine story. And so there's like flashbacks to the story as it happens, while also, he plays kind of his present day self, and Mark Hamill plays his dad, who's, of course, Mark Hamill is amazing in the movie. But yeah, it was a fun time. There's some really well choreographed fight sequences, but at the end of the day, I was entertained. I enjoyed it. Wasn't blown away, but curious to see if he'll do something else like this in the future. I also watched The Killer, which is David Fincher's new movie. And I've seen most of David Fincher's movies. Obviously, Seven is amazing. I remember seeing Alien 3 as a kid, and I thought it was, I actually enjoyed it a lot. I liked that it felt closer to the first one. But, as I get older, I start to understand, okay, yeah, there's like some bad CGI and kind of edited really weird, but overall, I appreciated the atmosphere and the ambiance of that movie. And, Gone Girl's another great movie he's done. So, but The Killer is not like, it's not like top tier David Fincher, I think. Like, he's good at, all his movies look great. They always are really great at capturing the feeling of the movie and expressing the mood through the screen. But this one, in terms of like the story, was pretty straightforward. This assassin messes up his job, and because of that, people come after him, which leads to him going after them. There's a few really excellently filmed fight sequences that are amazing, and just like the camera work and the way they line up shots and stuff. I mean, I could watch Michael Fassbender eat cereal and it would be enthralling, but he's top tier here, and so I enjoyed watching it. I don't know if I'd watch it again. If you're looking for something interesting to watch, it's definitely up that alley. It's not like an action movie per se, because like I said, there's really only one or two sequences of action in the movie, whereas it's more about like being in the mind of this assassin. So TV shows I've been watching, I finally started the second season of Shadow and Bone, but I'm like really behind because they already announced that they're canceling the show on Netflix. So hopefully they pick it up. I really liked the lead actress in this show. She really sells the character she's kind of just thrust into this world. It's a fantasy world, and kind of the wonder that you would experience when kind of leaving your hometown and going and experiencing all these great, intense things. And, it's Shadow and Bone's kind of like a fantasy show. It's kind of a mix between like, if you know the Avatar anime, there's like people that have certain abilities. Some of them Some of them control like elements. Some of them can like control your blood and stuff like that, like affect your body in certain ways. Some of them are healers. And then there's kind of like a Game of Thrones kind of just kind of world where there are certain places that are at war with each other, and so there's places they're traveling to make alliances and stuff like that. But it's a fun show. The actors do a really good job with what they're given, and I find myself invested in the lead characters, kind of like ragtag group of interesting archetypes. And I look forward to finishing the second season of that. On the other hand, I saw that they're doing the Squid Games reality show, and not a fan. I think it looks dumb. All I saw was the little clip of it on what is it? The preview on Netflix is what I'm trying to say. It's like the preview on Netflix, and I could just tell it was like such a poorly designed reality show based around the show, which I thought was great. I thought Squid Game was excellent, very entertaining, and very well acted and filmed, and it had a way of keeping you on the edge of your seat and keeping you engaged with the characters, whereas the show is like the reality show is like people just do dumb stuff just to build tension for no reason. Like if you don't know the show that well, basically people compete on this show to win money, but in the show you get killed if you lose any of the games. And so in the reality show, obviously they're just like, yeah, you're not going to win. You don't win any money, so get out of here. But like there's like one game where it's like red light, green light. And in the show, if you got caught moving on red light, they would just shoot you. But in the reality show, it's like, okay, well, how do we build tension? Well, somebody's running and they like go into a squat when it's red light. And then they're like, why did I go into a squat? I'm like, that's like the dumbest. Yeah, why did you do that? It doesn't make any sense to me. And, so I can't imagine how it's going to build off of the tension of the show when there's like no stakes to it at all, So that was one that I was just kind of like, what is the point of that? I also watched a documentary on Robbie Williams, which was really cool. Robbie Williams is sort of he's kind of an English pop star, rock star, however you would say it. He used to be in a boy band called Take That, and that was like England's Backstreet Boys, and he split with them pretty early on and kind of pursued his solo career. He's got a few really good songs. If you go to his Spotify and listen to his like top 2 or 3 songs, they're really good songs. But it was kind of delved into his struggles and his past and things he's dealt with, and I'm always fascinated by that because it's a dream of mine to kind of get to that level, and it's crazy. It's hard to understand how when you get to that point, you kind of fall apart. You can fall apart. The pressure, the constantly having paparazzi up your butt, constantly having the media say things about you and spreading false stories because, that's what they do nowadays. It's not even about what's true. It's about what gets people watching their network, which is how I feel about media in general, like news stations, most people, I get that you want to share your opinion about things, but when I feel like with TV news networks, it's all about what do we have to say to get people watching. And, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't even necessarily have to be true. All they have to do is say the words allegedly, and they're clean and free to say whatever they want about whoever they want and not have to deal with any repercussions of if they're destroying that person's life or turning people against that person for no reason other than to keep people watching their station. But I digress. But that was something that Robbie Williams struggled with a lot, And I'm not saying he was like the songbird of his generation, like I listened to some of the stuff he put out, and some of it's like, some of it's like really, kind of out in left field, but I think he came around, he kind of got to a good spot, and if he's coming to town, I definitely recommend checking him out. He's definitely a showman. There's some cool stuff he did on stage that I thought were really interesting kind of stunts that he was doing to kind of elevate his shows. So, yeah, that was the Robbie Williams documentary. Not to be confused with Robin Williams, Robbie Williams. It's kind of like there's Bryan Adams and there's Ryan Adams, and they're both musicians. So, I'll be like, this is a Ryan Adams cover, and they'll be like, yeah, and I'm like, it's not Summer of '69. I also rewatched Joe Coy's special recently. It's been a while since I've seen it. Every now and then I'll pop on an old stand-up comedy special that I'd seen just to, just because I'm entertained by him. And Joe Coy's recent special was really good. It was hilarious. He talks about sleep apnea, which is something that I might be suffering from. I don't know. I'm going to try to get some tests done soon and make sure I'm A-okay. But that was one of the bits he did, and he did it for a really long time. And it just kept getting funnier and funnier as he built on that. Cool. Let's talk some music. So, a friend of mine, Danah, Denice, just released a new song. She's been in the Maryland scene for a while, and she is a very talented singer and songwriter. And she was in a group called the Dead Pens for a while, and they released an EP, which was incredible. And then she just started working on her own solo music. Her song is called To Say Goodbye. And I'll put the description for this. I'll put the link to this in, not the link, the information, I'll put Danah's info and her song in the description so you can go check it out on Spotify or Apple or wherever you're listening. And yeah, she's going to put out an EP or an album next year, and really looking forward to it. I've also I listen to a lot of music at work, so I'll put on different stuff and listen to it. I'll put on this Queens of the Stone Age live concert from this year's, from Antwerp. So if you YouTube Queens of the Stone Age Antwerp 2023, it's a full concert, and it was pretty awesome. Queens of the Stone Age, I've seen them live, and they're just intense and just one of the best shows you can see on a stage with a band. So loved that. And then I just want to talk about the album I just put out, which is called You Have a Voice, Use It. And I put it out in October 2023. It's one of my best works, I think. Some really intense rock songs, some really beautiful ballads. I have a song on there called Where Are You Now, which is, I think, one of the best things I've ever put out. So I'll put that also in the description. If you get a chance, go check that out. That's something I'm really proud of. And yeah, that's pretty much what I want to talk about today. This episode is going to be called "What is the Point?" And I think most of my episodes are going to be based around a question. I noticed that I have a lot of songs that are questions. Where are you now? Will you remember? What are you doing? And I think these are questions we need to ask ourselves on a regular basis to kind of challenge ourselves to push for the next thing and what's the next step in our life here. Some people are focused on their families, and that's amazing. I think that's a beautiful thing. But I know a lot of people that stopped doing music because they started a family, and I think that maybe there's a part of them that wishes they could get back into it, but they feel like it's a all or nothing type thing, and I don't think that's the case always. There are little things you can do to be to kind of get out there and be included in things, and I think a lot of people, they kind of are afraid of what how it could affect other things in their life by trying to pursue something that means a lot to them, and I think that a lot of people could benefit from stepping outside of their box a little bit and trying to have things in their life that are meaningful to them. Whether it's painting or making music or just making a podcast. Try to find your fulfillment. Thank you for listening. Again, this podcast is in its infancy. I haven't even posted the first episode yet, and I know that, it's kind of like this thing where you want to kind of get a couple episodes recorded, get a feel for it, kind of get comfortable in this new role that I'm taking on. And if you have listened, and I appreciate you, take care of yourself, take care of the people around you. Don't take anyone in your life that means something to you for granted. Anything could happen at a moment's notice. And this is Will Sims signing off.